Hey, it's Mr. Allred, and we're talking about using percents. The topics we'll see here are the percent equation, which is a variation of the proportion equation. And we'll learn how to use percents as far as calculating tips and taxes, sales and discounts, and probably in a following video, based on time, we'll get to percent change. Okay. So the percent equation is a manipulation of the is over of equals percent over 100. So it allows us to kind of avoid that whole 100 and get the part or the whole by itself, but mostly we'll be finding the part. Anyway, it uses the decimal version of the percent. So keeping in mind that something along that lines, 100% is equal to 1 if we move the decimal 2 places, or divide by 100, or 83% would be 0.83. So in the percent equation, we see the part is equal to the decimal portion times the whole. Okay, and the decimal portion would be the 1 or the 0.83 over here, not 100, not 83. Okay. So it's just a variation of a formula we've already used. A lot of people like it because they don't have to write down as much. But let's see here. Let's see if we can use it. First of all, write 47% as a decimal. Well, you can either divide 47 by 100 or move the decimal over 2 places. If you do either, you will get 0.47. So that's 0.47 out of 1, so it's part of a whole. Okay, so we're going to use the equation up top, and we're going to say find 12% of 90. Well, 12% would be the same thing as 0.12. So the part we're looking for would be equal to 0.12. That's the portion as far as the percent. And then times the whole would be the 90. So 0.12 times 90. So let's see what happens when I do that. 0.12 times 90, I get 10.8. Okay, 10.8. So that means 12% of 90 is 10.8. Okay. The next one, what is 40% of 580? So again, we can move that decimal 2 places. 40% would be 0.4. So going back to before, we can still kind of use the same idea of is and of. Is and of here, if you're trying to figure out the part and the whole. So what is, that's the part, of 580, that's the whole. Okay. So let's see here. So we got the part that we're trying to find is 40%, and we're using 0.4, the decimal equivalent, times the whole, which is 580. So just mashing some buttons on my calculator, 0.4 times 580 is 232. So if you understand this, it seems to be a lot quicker. You don't have the proportion to set up and solve, but it may be a little bit more confusing if you like the other way. You don't need both ways, to be honest, but this one is a little bit quicker once you're comfortable and understand how to use it. Okay, so now let's do a couple of calculations in kind of word problems. Tips and taxes. Tips and taxes are added to a total purchase. So usually if you're charged sales tax on something, it's a certain percent of the total. And if you leave a tip, you're usually asked to leave it in terms of a certain percent of the total. So these are added to your bill or your charge. So we've had to find that part, that percentage, and then we have to add it to the bill. So let's see here. Example. The lunch bill for your office party is $237.45. And you are required to leave an 18% tip. So I'm sure you've seen those signs where if you have 6 or more people, you'll be charged this gratuity no matter what. So let's assume that's what's going on here. It says calculate the tip and the total you will have to pay. So we can use that equation up top, but first of all, let's make sure we understand that 18% If we divide it by 100 or move the decimal 2 places to the left, will be 0.18. So the tip will be the 18% of the total bill, $237.45. Okay, so the whole there was the $237. That was the total bill that we got, and we're going to find 18% of it. So if this doesn't come out to a nice number, we will just go ahead and round it off to the nearest penny, because that makes the most sense when dealing with money. So $42.74. So that's the tip. Okay, it was a pretty large bill. 18% is a good amount. So leaving about $43 tip. So then the total with the tip would just be our $237 bill, 45 cents, plus the actual tip. So let's see what that would be. So we're adding the tip to it. You know how they leave the line there to write how much tip you're going to give, and then they ask you to add it up yourself. That's kind of like just a double check. Well, let's see here, 42.74. If I match the right buttons, I am being charged or given up the amount of $280.19. This is the total paid. Okay, so I asked 2 questions there. You may only be asked 1, but make sure you understand how to get to one from the other. Okay, here's another one. It says you are looking to purchase a boat. The boat is $42,000 in Georgia, but there will be a 5% sales tax. Excuse me. In South Carolina, the boat is only $39,500, which is less, but the tax will be 7.5%. So calculate the total price in each state and decide which is cheaper for you. So the boat is actually priced cheaper in South Carolina, but their tax is a good bit higher. So let's just kind of lay it out and see what happens. So let's come over here and let's do Georgia. So let's calculate the tax first. The tax will be 5%, which is 0.05, times the 42,000. So 0.05 times 42,000 is $2,100. So the total will be the 42,000 plus the 2,100, which will be, I guess, 44,100. Okay, and that's in Georgia. So let's come over here and let's do South Carolina. We'll abbreviate. So we're going to calculate the tax first. 7.5% will be 0.075, and that'll be times the price, $39.5. So let's see, the tax will be 0.075 times $39.5. Almost $3,000. Let's see here. $2,962.50. So almost $800 more in taxes. But let's see here. The total will be the $39.5 plus the $2,962.50, and then that total will be, let's just use the calculator. Hopefully everything comes out all right. If you ever find a mistake, just kind of email me, send me a note. It's possible I make a mistake, and sooner or later somebody will catch it and let me know, I hope. $42,462.50. So after seeing those two things, that is definitely cheaper. I mean, the tax is a lot more, but because there was a difference in the price to start with, it works out. Not necessarily a good idea to avoid the math all the time, but let's say it's cheaper in South Carolina. If those prices had been a little bit closer together, it might have given us a surprise. Let's see where we go next. Discounts. Let's see here. Discounts and sales prices. Actually, let's save this for the next video since I'm starting to run out of time.